I'm Scott Lerding, Associate Secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society. On behalf of the Society, I'd like to welcome you to this event, part of an ongoing series of Phi Beta Kappa Society lectures being held around the country. The Society created this national lecture series to serve as a forum for public intellectuals to speak about the important issues of their time. Throughout its more than 200-year history, Phi Beta Kappa has held a unique position in American society, not only because its members have played such an important role in the history of our country, but because the standard of excellence and the values Phi Beta Kappa promotes are at the core of America's democratic society. Freedom of inquiry and expression, breadth of intellectual perspective, the cultivation of skills of deliberation and ethical reflection are values that make our society stronger. This national lecture series is intended to be one more way that the Society impacts the intellectual discourse in this country by serving as an opportunity for people to come together and engage with public intellectuals in discussing and debating the significant issues, events, and ideas of our time. With Jack Bogle, we have the opportunity to learn more about investing from the man who revolutionized the way that individuals invest in the stock market by offering the first index mutual fund 35 years ago. We're grateful to Temple University for hosting this lecture tonight in Alder Hall. We appreciate the efforts of our chapter officers, and I would also particularly like to thank Kara Engel, Lucinda Morales, and Rihanna Quick from the Phi Beta Kappa National Office for their hard work in putting this event together. I should mention that John Churchill, our secretary, is here tonight, as well as Teresa Scott-Sufas, the Dean of the CLA here at Temple, and Dick Engelert, the Provost at Temple. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. Jack Bogle is the founder of the Vanguard Group and the president of the Bogle Financial Markets Research Center. He created Vanguard in 1974 and served as chairman and chief executive officer until 1996 and senior chairman until 2000. He had been associated with a predecessor company since 1951, immediately following his graduation from Princeton University, magna cum laude in economics. The Vanguard Group is the largest mutual fund organization in the world. Headquartered in Malvern, Pennsylvania, Vanguard comprises more than 120 mutual funds, with current assets totaling more than $1 trillion. Vanguard 500 Index Fund, the largest fund of the group, was founded by Mr. Bogle in 1975. It was the first index mutual fund. In 2004, Time magazine named Mr. Bogle as one of the world's 100 most powerful and influential people. An institutional investor presented him with its Lifetime Achievement Award. In 1999, Fortune designated him as one of the investment industry's 4 giants of the 20th century. In the same year, he received the Woodrow Wilson Award from Princeton University for distinguished achievement in the nation's service. In addition, Mr. Bogle is a best-selling author, and I'm pleased to say that his 2 most recent books, Common Sense on Mutual Funds Fully Updated 10th Anniversary Edition, and the just-released Don't Count on It, Reflections on Investment Illusions, Capitalism, Mutual Funds, Indexing, Entrepreneurship, Idealism, and Heroes, are available for sale tonight, and he will be signing books at the reception. In addition to his achievements, I should note with gratitude that Mr. Bogle has been a great friend to Phi Beta Kappa for a number of years, having served on our foundation's investment committee. His sage guidance was a welcome presence in every meeting, and we have missed him since he stepped down from our committee. Please help me welcome Jack Bogle.
Thank you so much, Scott. Can you all hear me back there all right? It's great to be with all of you tonight. Anybody, including me, would be honored to be invited by Phi Beta Kappa to be part of this great lecture series that they're doing. And I've decided, more than I usually do, to make this a sort of lecture rather than sometimes I do informal things, sometimes a little more formal, but I thought I would be a little more formal tonight, taking a few of the themes in that orange and black tome that you saw up there representing Princeton's colors. And it looks like they're Phi Beta Kappa's colors, too. Do I have that right over there? But there are a lot of themes in there, as you heard, and it's, I guess, my attempt to thank those that helped me along the road of life. That's the heroes section. Talk about entrepreneurship, which I really don't think I qualify to do, but I did start a company and it did pretty well. And then many investment values. And you'll notice that the word mutual, as John Churchill and I were talking about before the evening begins, we put quotes around the word mutual funds, but of course they're not mutual. And there's only one mutual fund group, only one more commercial for Vanguard tonight, and that is what Vanguard is, in fact, mutual, that is to say, owned by its shareholders. So in this post-election day, you're all nice to come out after, you really don't have to, it's so funny the way the world has changed. I don't think you really need to look at the election returns anymore. There may have been a surprise last night, but I can't think of one, And Nate Silver told me everything I needed to know. I don't know if you follow him. He does these polls for the New York Times. So here we are, and I'm going to talk mainly in two of the big themes in the book. America's financial system, powerful but flawed. Because of all of the talk about the causes of these deep-seated economic challenges that are facing our nation today, globalization, enormous indebtedness, huge unemployment, the severe recession, which we're just now getting out of, and the stock market crash of 2008, 2009, I think too little attention has been paid to the critical role played by our financial system itself. Those of you who are into economics will know that classical economics has tended to make a distinction between the real economy, the production and consumption of goods and services, and the paper economy, the vast network of financial assets and liabilities that is finally supported by the productive economy. The fact is, however, that our productive economy and our financial economy are closely, indeed inextricably interlinked. As you all know, the principal role of the nation's financial institutions is to allocate scarce investment capital, classic economics, among our corporations and investment sectors in a way that maintains the growth potential of our economy, just hornbook economics. But changes in our financial sector have severely undermined that goal. Most notable of these changes are, first, the growing dominance of giant banks and investment banks and giant institutional money managers as stock owners over principals, these are agents, over principals, individual investors. The agency society is one big issue. And second, the ascendance of short-term speculation over long-term investment focused on the illusion represented by the momentary precision of stock prices rather than the reality, however evasive, represented by intrinsic value, which is simply put the discounted value of future cash flows of a corporation. Both of these major changes in how we invest have played a critical role in creating today's dysfunctional and expensive financial system, and in turn have ill-served our real economy. With these profound and in fact earth-shaking changes, our financial markets, you know all this, have become far more volatile and unpredictable than the underlying businesses that they ultimately represent, which collectively account for the value of their market capitalization. Put another way, investors are more volatile than investments. Economic reality finally governs the returns earned by our businesses, but emotions and perceptions, those swings of hope and greed and fear among the participants in our financial system, govern the returns in our markets, as distinct from our businesses. Emotional factors sometimes magnify, sometimes minimize this central core of economic reality. And financial crises can arise at any time, but over the long term, it is reality that triumphs over illusion. Warren Buffett states this issue with his usual clarity. His firm, Berkshire Hathaway, is publicly held, and he regularly hammers home to his shareholders this message, that he prefers his shares to trade at or around its intrinsic value, neither much higher nor much lower. Here's how he explains it. Intrinsic value is the discounted value of cash that can be taken out of the business during its remaining life, a long time for most companies, or for many companies at least. When the stock temporarily overperforms or underperforms the business, a limited number of shareholders, either sellers or buyers, receive outsized benefits at the expense they trade with. If the stock is higher than the intrinsic value, that's great for sellers and bad for buyers. And if the stock is below the intrinsic value, that's great for buyers and bad for sellers. It's not complicated. But over time, the aggregate gains made by Berkshire Hathaway shareholders must of necessity match the business gains of the company.